everybody? Orange Podcast. Bad episode 85. Paul 85. Isn't that insane how we went from doing spaces? Now we're on 85 podcasts. We're going to do another one tonight. 86 will also be tonight. To all the listeners that are probably just starting to tune in, the only reason we talked about this is because it's remarkable to us that we have made the progress and that we're doing this and we're learning the technology, and we can bring to you videos, we can bring to you audio content, and we can show it to you on your screen, as opposed to Spaces on X. Spaces is great. I'm not knocking Spaces, but it's like AM radio, and we're now 4K television. That's what the amazing thing to us is.
Yeah, great analogy. That's a great analogy. It's exactly right. And I have to say, I'm so proud of our leaps and bounds we've done in content, where we were kind of rabble-rousery at the beginning and just we'd get off topic and go,
trucker talk, or what did Trump call it? Locker room talk.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. It's easy to do because you think you're just talking to friends, and you forget you're actually live content.
Yeah.
Right. And it's live recorded content, which people will listen to later, and you're like, I probably wouldn't have said that if I thought this was a public platform, right?
Yep.
And all of us went through the learning experience.
Yeah, we really did.
Way along.
Yeah.
I said all kinds of stupid stuff. Like, everybody said all kinds of stupid stuff. And like, as we progressed, I get down more to being a moderator. Like, whoa. I don't want to talk about that. And then people would get mad at me and say, well, it's my free speech. And I'd say, no, your free speech is opening up your own show.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want. You're on my show. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And you'd have those fights.
Yeah.
And then now we
lost some people because of it.
Well, sure.
And, some hard heads and nitwits and stuff like that. But it's kind of seeking its own level now. And I think, I hate to say we're more serious now, but I think, because we still have fun on the show, but I think we're more concentrated now, or I don't know. Help me with the word. You know what I'm saying? We're more
focused on the content and less focused on
we're more
hanging
focused
out.
Now.
Because we've learned, like, obviously, if we want to just shoot the shit, we have telephones for that. And we don't need to do that in a public broadcast. That gets back to the locker room talk. That gets back to the
the Australian trucker and the cattle guy in Mississippi and all that stuff. We just go down these rabbit holes forever, dude.
Which is it's totally fine that there is content there that we did. It's still out there.
Oh yeah, no, it was legit. I'm not saying
really good, but you're right. It would also, you'd have some guy right in the middle would come up and say like snorkel fart, and you're like,
yeah, what?
Well, excuse me. Well, I just wanted to be heard. Well, we heard you. Drop. Now you can't be heard. So what do you feel about that? And you had all of that, like these people trying to power move you in your own space,
in your own home,
right? And you're like, well, all right, I'll show you who's who. And then again, you look at it from an audience standpoint, and I've listened to so many of those type of X spaces, and I go, I really, really, really hate listening to this stupidness and arguments. The conversation they were having before the disruptor came up was really good, and I wanted to listen to it. And now they're never going to get back to it because now they're flustered, they're distracted, they're trying to reset the program. People dropped, they lost audience, and I've said this. I'll say this publicly for people who do content like we do. It's super easy to lose a customer. A customer is a viewer. Super easy. And you don't gain them back.
Yeah,
Now gaining viewers, that's hard, but it's doable. And you
yeah.
just got to be mindful if you're doing this content that it's all you got to do is say one thing stupid,
And
people
then
are
you're
out. They
done.
just pick up like, God,
Yeah,
I'm done listening to this. I'm never. I look. There's a gazillion other Rumble channels I could tune into right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Right.
And, the other thing is too, Sean, for me, I don't even look at them as competition. I look at them as fellow travelers and fellow uh, content providers and, just getting out there and saying what their view on things are. There's so many podcasters, a very uh, large percentage that would say, we're going to talk about the same things, maybe even on the
Yeah.
same day. But
Absolutely.
there's what I mean. There's so much content, but I really don't look at those folks as competition. I just think it's different folks in the world saying their version of things.
Well, and the other thing that I would like to see more people get back to, and I'm guilty, I need to do it too, is like you weren't doing podcasting quite yet, but I had started getting into it not by myself, but by going on other podcasts.
Yeah,
And then saying, "Hey, I did yours. You want to do mine?" You remember Rev Tim Christopher? He's running for lieutenant governor in
yeah,
Minnesota.
in
Rip
Minnesota.
it up with Rev. Rip
Yeah,
it up with Rev. And he didn't really care. He wanted you to rip it up with him,
yeah,
not in a gross or graphic way, but bring your thoughts to him. And so
hmm
he go, "Wait, that's interesting.
yeah,
Well, what do you think about this?" And he never really gave any pushback. He just was, I want to know more. So why do you think specifically this would help? Or why do you think and he just for an hour, like, rip
yeah,
it up with me.
yeah,
Great podcast, by the way. It might actually be live right now. The account's Rev Tim Christopher on all platforms. It might be live. It's probably competing with us right now. But to Paul's point, it's not bad competition. It's good competition. And I
yeah,
think people in those spaces should just generally help each other out by being guests on each
yeah.
other's shows.
Supporting each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It doesn't have to turn into a circle echo chamber. It doesn't. But every once in a while, Reverend Tim Christopher might want to know what I think about reparations. And I did an entire podcast with him about that.
yeah,
And it was a really good podcast. Not that we're going down, because that's a full hour by itself, going down that road. It was that I was willing to go on as me, the former where's my family from? Germany, Poland,
yeah,
uh, fled here, and
yeah.
dealing with that, it had nothing to do with uh, Africans at all, or slavery at all.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, some of our family were probably Slavs, which is where the term comes from. But great conversation. And again, the whole point is it's just you're just sharing with somebody, and he's a solid guy. I really love the guy. Uh,
Sure.
Rev Tim, if you happen to run across this, I've got your number. I need to call you.
Yeah,
US Supremacy Clause, Paul. Let me start here. We have talked in depth over the last at least year about using National Guard troops who are untrained in civil rights. And civil rights doesn't mean what you think it means when I say it. It does not mean black or white. It means
Yeah,
you are allowed the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Third
yeah,
Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, all through the process of dealing with law enforcement. The 10th Amendment comes into play. The Ninth Amendment can sometimes come into play, depending on what situation you're in. They're not trained on any of this. Law enforcement isn't trained on this. But then we also look at you got to look at the US Supremacy Clause when it comes to uh, national emergencies or riots. The first time that the army was called in, the actual army, would have been in the 1860s, right after Abraham Lincoln won to squash a rebellion in Washington, D.C. And you can go,
correct.
well, that's federal. All right, that's federal
Yeah,
land. I say, yes. What else is federal land? Look around all your major metropolitan cities. We have federal property there. They're allowed to defend that property. Now, when they push out, you and I think, will both agree that it should be federal law enforcement who are
right.
trained in people's civil rights or
That's
civil
right. Yeah,
liberties, right? But you know, on outside of that, outside of the argument of, well, you could have some big bruisers from the National Guard to just help me back me up on the federal property. Is not the U.S. Is this U.S. Supremacy Clause just like aren't they just absolutely ignoring it when they're declaring in Portland the ice-free zones?
dude, d- you can't. And that knucklehead in Chicago, he doesn't get it. That's not how things work. You know,
Right.
bruh, read the Constitution. You know, there's no such thing as an ice free zone. And what you're doing is stoking the flames of division when you go on a national press conference and talk that noise. Because during times of insurrection and which is what they have with these demonstrations in Chicago, Portland's just out of control. They're just out of control. And I agree with you 100%. You're one each National Guard guy who's, a plumber by trade that goes through some distilled boot camp. He's not trained in any of this stuff. It, you know, and
Correct.
and the and you got to remember too, it's a provision. The Supremacy Act is a provision. It's not an actual, piece of legislation. But what it basically means is the supremacy of federal law over state law. Um, I can't remember the article, but there's an article in the Constitution that covers the federal, you know, political.
Well, no, that's the U.S. Supremacy Clause, right? That
Yeah,
the states can't override the federal when it comes
right.
to national security.
Yeah,
Right. That's what I was looking at specifically. I guess it was with Brandon Johnson. He obviously doesn't care about the Constitution, because in the city of Chicago, he's got super high priced lawyers working at $700 an hour for the city that
oh
know
yeah,
this stuff, and
yeah,
he's like, I don't care. Write it up anyways. Write me
right.
up a ice-free zones. And then you can go, well, what does that only include ice officers? Because the way you read it, it's a short read. Well, why can't I just bring in U.S. Marshals, or why can't I bring in FBI? Because I
Yeah,
can. I can bring in all of those.
you can.
As a president, I am lawfully allowed to do that.
And those guys are better trained to handle it. Now, in in Paul's world, what I would do is have uh, an area where we would have National Guard, and then I would bring in some trainers from ICE and FBI and Border Patrol and have them do some rudimentary short-term training to these guys on scene. Not don't deploy them yet, but let them go and stand up for a couple of weeks, and you give them the basics of rules of engagement, for lack of a better term, arrest procedures, uh, what you can and cannot do, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, you and I have talked again talked a great length about this, but remember, every audience is a new audience. So our thoughts have been: um, are there people in the National Guard that are trained to be military police? Well,
Yeah, there's MP. Yeah, there's
pull
MOS.
MPs first, right?
Yeah, that's an MOS for military police in National Guard.
Right, and so if that's because you have an emergency that you do not have enough U.S. Marshals or FBI agents, yes, but we want you specifically to pull those first. And again, if you want to pull out a couple of He-Man bruisers to guard gates, I'm not opposed to that, but they
Huh.
should not be making arrests. They're just not capable of following through with, because they don't know, they weren't trained on right on civil liberties,
Yeah.
on people's civil liberties. So that's where I falter with Trump's plan of using quote unquote the military. I don't care what people say.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
we
looks to
must
me
have
like you might have
we must have
missed
a
your
medical
appointment with
emergency.
your probation officer today, bro.
No, we must have a medical emergency here. I'll move a little bit, but must have a medical emergency in the
Oh yeah,
neighborhood. It's fire trucks, no police. Police are probably 5 minutes out. I hope whatever it is, I hope they survive.
yeah.
It's not. Oh,
Well,
JC's looking for a link.
so the other part of that is I watched several videos today in Portland of federal and ICE agents doing uh, the swarm arrest, where they just
Yeah,
5 or 6 officers just swarm the guy, get him. He's got no chance to resist. They put him on the ground. There's a person on every limb, somebody controlling the hips, which is important, somebody controlling the
mhm,
head, which is important. Put him in Ziploc cups, and then 6 guys pick him up and carry him off the scene. I saw
yeah.
that over and over again today, and I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do. Now, I agree with you. A National Guard, one each National Guard guy is not trained in doing that.
So
Unless he's
would
been to
you be?
MP school.
No. But would you be opposed? Like I'm talking about we've all seen them, the big bruisers, the 6'6", three hundred
Yeah,
and 20 pound guys, but they're not fat. They're just all beefcake.
yeah,
Would you be opposed to them having a couple of those help just carry the body if they
absolutely
don't
not.
do any of the police activity? And
Yep,
that's where we're at. And I think
yep,
that's basically what Trump and Cash Patel are trying to get to. And they need the manpower that they don't have yet because of the defund the police movement, and we've defunded the marshals. It was severely defunded the marshals. We even told them they can't fly around on planes anymore to protect
yeah,
us.
yep,
Starting with Obama, right? And then defunding the police. The FBI has been gutted over the last 15 years. And that workforce has been so reduced
decimated.
that
Yeah.
now we have to have people that could just be assistants, right?
So, in basic crowd control training, the guys up front with the sticks and the shield, the Lexan shield, right? They What they do is they interact with the crowd. Crowd pushes back. You're trained to take your shield, turn it sideways, go behind the person, hook them, and you pull them back to the meat hooks, the 6'4", 250 guys, and they know exactly what to do. But they're not involved in enforcement; they're involved in compliance.
And movement,
Yeah,
compliance, movement, perfect. Well, the other thing I saw that recently with Portland is right, we're deploying the gas, and they're actually doing the correct thing, right? Is a shoulder, hand on shoulder, all the way back in the line in
yeah,
a group like a football
yeah,
group, and we'll walk you out of this front line.
yeah.
You keep your eyes forward towards the aggressor.
That's correct.
And so I'm seeing good things compared to in years past when we've dealt with these
Oh
riots.
yeah, you just do a Buddy Rich drum solo on the guy's head with a mag light and a stick.
Which,
Yeah,
look,
those days are gone.
they're gone. They're done. Listen, there's so many just goofy federal judges. You like you're guaranteeing a criminal's freedom by doing that
So,
stuff now.
so I got to tell you, in when I was working narcotics, we spent a whole lot of time on compliance and takedowns and arrest procedures and stuff like that because we had to, right?
Hmm.
Because we were doing 30, 40 search warrants a month in South Florida.
And this is when you were doing narco, right?
Yeah, that's when I was on the DEA task force. Yeah.
Okay.
And so and when we weren't doing that, we were in the gym. You're muted,
Oh,
JC.
I gotta unmute him. He had his TV on. Now he has to unmute himself.
Oh, is
JC.
that?
No, back when Florida was a purple state, when you had Lawton Childs and those other and Jeb Bush and those pussies. Sorry, Paul, I've missed you. All right.
Oh, yeah.
No, DeSantis, great governor, never be president, but he knows how to enforce the law and he'll stand up. So I got nothing bad to say about him tonight because Florida looks a lot more like Texas should look than Texas does.
Yeah.
Well, who was it? DeSantis or was it Abbott? Abbott, I think it might have been Abbott that responded to some MSD and CNN correspondent who said, "Why isn't the National Guard being called into red cities?" And he goes, "Because in red cities, law enforcement does their job."
Right. And if you have a blue city like Memphis in a red state, then here they come. And if you have a blue city like St. Louis in a
Austin.
red state, here they come. All right. And you aren't going to have this nonsense. But
Indianapolis, you're on the list. Chicago, you're on the
yeah,
list. Charlotte,
Chicago. Well,
Charlotte, you're
Chicago.
on the list.
Chicago is another matter because you got all this resistance, but that's going to be where the showdown happens. You know that.
You know what? You know what really surprises me about Chicago? The only place in the world where there's more Serbians in Serbia is Chicago.
They don't live in the city. They live out on the west side.
Oh, is
They live
that
out
what
on
it
the west
is?
side in the suburbs.
Oh,
You
I
gotta
got
you
you.
gotta
Okay.
understand. Chicago is much more like New York than any other major metro because it
Right.
spans 3 states. And what you call when you say I'm from Chicago, you might be I'm from Wisconsin, or it might be
Right.
I'm from the suburbs of
Oh,
Illinois,
yeah. I'm from
or it might
Moline,
be,
Illinois.
or even what's called the region, which is a 3 county region across northern Indiana, Lake Porter and LaPorte. That all the money, the jobs are all there, so people drive in, drive out.
I
That's
like I like I like I
Chicagoland.
like to I like to claim credit for ending BLM in St. Louis because with McCluskey, the AK in his front yard. And I've told this story, and it's my brush with greatness. But I went there when he had no friends, and I said, "I'll have 25 people here tomorrow, armed, and we're gonna stop this now. This is our city. This is it. It's not going to happen." Those stupid bastards went to the south side of St. Louis City, maybe even that night, and they met up with a bunch of Bosnians with hammers. And and Paul, I don't even need to tell you what happened, man. They they got the absolute snot kicked
Yeah.
out of them. And then Trump sent a couple of snipers, and St. Louis has been quiet ever since. Which is why which is why you're not seeing a whole lot of focus here, even though it's devastating. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, maybe they should start urban farming. Teach these gals how to plant some crops, right?
We've already had those programs at the cost of millions and millions of
I know, and
taxpayer-funded dollars in every major metropolitan city that's over 1 million people or close to 1 million people, like St. Louis or Indianapolis or
right.
Cincinnati or Columbus, across the Midwest, Pittsburgh.
Sean, hold on, 200,000 per tomato. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're farming.
that's the
We got
cost.
tomatoes. Yeah, that's
Wow.
200,000 per tomato. Yeah.
Yeah, but a neighbor was able to come pick it.
Right. Yeah, without getting shot. So
So
that was progress, right?
well, it doesn't beg to tell that they probably launched it at a local police station later that night,
Yeah.
right?
Fair
My
enough.
dad built a couple of office buildings in St. Louis, and in the late '60s, and we lived in Creve Coeur, and both my sisters and my older brother went to, I don't remember if it was East Ladue or West Ladue, but they went there, and I'll never forget, JC, my youngest sister getting sent home because her dress was this much too short and showed her knees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how awful.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they sent her, and everybody wore uniforms.
Right.
So
Creve Coeur,
mom's measuring. She thought she got it right and stuff, but yeah, that's
Creve
not.
Coeur, Olivet, the home of the St. Louis Jews, Ladue. Yeah, I know. All
Yeah.
right.
Well,
They
and
they have
again,
they have standards.
one of the things that we look at as Highlanders, we'll call ourselves, is why do people, and this happens all over the country. It happens in Texas, Louisiana, Missouri, like South Carolina. Why do people build below the level of the water? Like,
Oh, you
what
mean
would
like
they?
New Orleans?
Or St. Louis that builds below the level of Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Like, well, why do you go? This is where we need a city. This shit would be
Right here.
awesome.
And we'll build a levee and it'll never break.
Remember that you're also talking about East St. Louis, which is a different deal, even though it's a lot more of the same deal right now than it ever should have been. All right. East St. Louis is Gary, Indiana on steroids. Personal story. I'm a pharmacist. You guys obviously know that by now. And I did a shift in East St. Louis on 25th Street at a grocery store. I won't name them. And uh, I was talking to the pharmacy technicians, some of Sean's favorite people. And they said, "Well, we're hoping Tim can come back." And I said, "Is he out on leave?" "Well, yeah, he's on medical leave." I said, "Well, why?" They said, "Well, he finished up his shift at 8 o'clock, and then he got the shit kicked out of him in the parking lot, and he ended up in the hospital." And I said, "And what time does my shift end?" They said, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
I said,
Well,
"Oh, okay." I mean, seriously, East St. Louis is Camden, it's South Central, it's South Chicago, it's all of that. It is a absolute disgrace. And if Pritzker wants to keep you out of Chicago, how about we go to East St. Louis? They would welcome Trump.
I know they would. I've
Yeah,
seen social media calls from all over the country saying, "Please come to my area,
please
Trump."
come,
And
please come.
right, you're right. The bizarre thing is the attacks they get on their post. Oh God,
Yes,
you're a racist. You're a bigot. You're a homophobe. You just want to deport everyone that's black or brown. And we're all like, who said that? Like your
Justin
Yeah, I mean,
Crook.
messaging is
that's the thing about
your
Charlie
mess.
Kirk. That he gives a whole monologue on protecting and educating and lifting up the black population, and he says, they're doomed to failure if you don't. And then the liberal media goes, Charlie Kirk says the blacks are doomed to failure because he's a racist. None of the
Well,
other
it's
Right.
stuff
not.
was in there,
It's hold on. It's not just that. The point I'm trying to land is that this message, since probably 2012, 2013, Obama, uh, when we didn't talk like this before, and this
No,
message has been the same thing to everybody, like on social media. Social media started in 1996.
sort of.
Uh,
CompuServe.
sort of. Right.
Jesus.
CompuServe was a little before that. We'll get into this in the next
AOL.
program,
AOL.
which is going to be
AOL.
it's going to be a total break from what we're talking about here. Is that once social media was actually mainstream, right? And that would also be the Obama era. The attack has always been the same thing. You're a racist, a homophobe, a bigot,
Yep, a fascist.
Islamophobe,
Yep.
now transphobe, fascist, Nazi. And it's unrelenting that they still do the same things. And most of my comments back to them is, work on some new material. This isn't buying you new voters now. And that's my
Yep.
constructive criticism. After that, I usually say, hey, I could hold up a mirror. It's you. You're the Nazi. You're the one against free speech. You're the.
I
But I
hope
at least
I
start
hope
off constructive.
I hope I don't offend any viewers, listeners with what I'm about to say. But this
Uh-oh.
guy in Chicago, and I'm not talking about Sumo Gov, all right? I'm talking about, I'm sorry, folks, Dark Brandon. This guy is a mental midget, okay? And there is no way to excuse what this guy is about. I'm sorry, this has to end with him being arrested. He has to be arrested. And Sean, let me just put it out there for the Republicans and the Patriots. Somebody needs to be arrested. And if it can't be Comey, it has to be someone whose name we recognize. Brandon Johnson would work. The mayor of Portland, that would work. I mean, you guys, or even that friggin' judge in Oregon, arrest her. That's ridiculous. You're so far off your mandate as a jurist. How can you say this? How can you do this? How can you usurp the power of the president? I was thinking that Jeb Bosberg would be really pissed with this gal in Oregon because she took over for him as president. But I mean, this clown, Kilmer Abrego Garcia, why are we still screwing around with this guy?
Right.
Ship his ass out of here.
Yep.
What are we
Paul,
doing?
wait. But all right, time out. We get again. We talked about civil liberties, which are
Yeah.
super important to everybody. Doesn't matter what side you're on. Let's look at. All right, what civil liberties did Mayor Brandon Johnson violate by creating ice-free zones, lawful or legally? And I'm going to go probably nothing a lawyer from the Illinois AG would even take up. And that's where
No,
we're at because this isn't necessarily. And then you go, well, all right, well, can't we make it federal? Yeah, but like, do you want a 5-year law fair? criminal case against? Of course I do, but where does it go? And that's what Paul. So ice free zones, it civil liberties of people. Whose civil liberties got violated by him just saying something retarded?
All the minorities.
Of course.
All right.
I mean,
The,
facts are facts, dude. He's
no, the
putting
people
those
they don't.
people in danger. He's
So
exposing
this
them
is
to danger.
something Pam Bondi's AG's office should be working on at a federal level. No,
Right
no, no.
now.
It like right now, today.
Yeah. The case should be filed. Why are we so slow? Hey,
No,
Cash.
no, no.
I,
I'm also agree with you that why are we so slow is retarded. But I'm also looking to Paul and go, don't we have a bunch of bigger shit to do than fry Mayor Johnson? That's going to take 5 years.
No, you know what we have, but you know what we have to do? Sorry, Sean, but
Do
you
it.
know what we
Go.
have to do in Chicago? I don't give a rat's ass about Johnson. He'll be dealt with at some point in time. We have a moral and civic obligation to protect those young men from killing each other and single mothers who can't walk to the grocery store because there's 4 or 5 thugs standing on the corner and she can't get around them without them doing something to her. That's what we have the responsibility to do.
the reason why you people listen to this show is because we're willing to acknowledge the truth. And the truth is that young men will either rule in the home as fathers and rule givers, or they'll rule in the streets. And the fact is, if you're going to take guns away from those women, they can't defend their young boys.
Right.
That got me disinvited from family Thanksgiving dinners to point that out with someone who
No.
was actually, oh no, it's okay. Oh, I don't care. But with a legislator in Pennsylvania who had been elected to the House of Representatives who said, no one will speak for the NRA. And I said exactly that. And I told her straight across the dinner table, I said, I'm a life member. Of course I'll speak for the NRA. Are you kidding? Oh man, you could have heard a pin drop. You hate
Really.
her. Oh yeah, you hate her. You're this, you're that. No, I'm telling you the truth. This is what this is about. And I
Wow.
don't care if George H.W. Bush is too much of a puss to stick with the NRA. I don't care what the Republicans do. The fact is, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. And those gals have a right to protect their families with lethal force.
Yeah.
Can can can,
Period.
can you get
I
into
didn't good.
Well, I think there's something here that's not being said to our audience. Like all of the people that hate us, and there's a
Oh yeah.
reason that they say specifically the things they say. And I heard specifically from a family member over the weekend when we were talking about deportations. Oh, you'll just round up every black and brown person. Where do they
So
hear? No, but this is nothing new. This is stuff that they've been trained to say, and they believe it because they were trained over years and years and years of hearing this messaging, right? And then they get yeah. If you have an actual conversation with one that's not going to flip out at the first second, you go, no, no, here's my stance, and it's that if you came here unlawfully, I'm like, we have to draw a line at some point.
Yeah.
And I said to this person, I've actually interviewed many people, and I have knowledge of another person who is a legal immigrant, and they hate it more than the rest of the citizens do.
of course
They
they
hate
do.
illegal immigration.
Really?
Yeah,
No, of course they do.
hate it.
They did it right.
No,
Yeah.
they spend
Well,
all the time doing
that's
it.
what my wife says, JC. You know, it took us 5.5 years
Right.
and quite a bit of money to get
Hell yeah.
her citizenship. We went through Catholic Charities. We had all these, we got turned down and had to appeal. And, you know, I, but dude, you want to see somebody fired up? It's that little tail dragger I married. She
I
she
bet.
gets absolutely. And the other thing she does too is say, "You think Trump's a fascist? You don't know a fascist. You think this country's fascist? You've got no idea. I was born and raised in a fascist country. I was ruled by fascist leaders. You got no freaking idea."
Paul, we got to get her on with off camera. She could do it from her phone in a different room.
Absolutely.
We got to get her on
Yeah,
off camera so that we
yeah,
can have the story from her directly to the public.
yeah. I know. Yeah,
Yeah. Like, because this is normal what I hear, not just from your wife, from other people. I know we had somebody on the show that they had a quicker entry point, but it was 2 years, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck these people that just come across the border.
yeah.
They take
Yeah.
all the resources that I can't get.
That's
I have
right.
to do all the things.
I got to do all the things that they
temp-
don't have to do. I got to
temp-
get up at 6 in the morning to go to the immigration office, and there's already a line around the damn block, and I got to stand there for 4.5 hours
Yep.
to
Like
get
the Super
one
Bowl.
stamp on my file so that I could come back in 6 more months and get another stamp on my file.
which
Right.
they
That's
don't. Which
that's
the
the reality of it, dude.
Which, all right, the correct term would be parolees. During the Biden era, parolees, which is what Schumer's trying to fund, the illegals, is they don't have to do any of this, and they don't even have an arraignment date, right?
Right.
Now,
No.
your wife never was arraigned because she applied.
Yeah.
Temporary protected status,
That's
which is
another. TPS is another issue.
absolute horseshit.
Hold on.
Okay.
TPS is a different issue, and it's a smaller issue than parolees. So asylum parolees is how the
Yeah.
auto pen
That's how they're put.
administration
Yeah.
brought in. We don't know the number. Was it 10 million? Is it 400 million?
Yeah.
It's probably not 400 million, but it could be 30 million.
Yeah.
This is how
Very well
they
could be.
said, hey, accept this gift of a cell phone, a prepaid card, and all you got to do is sign in to your cell phone, and we'll know that you were asking for asylum. And then they immediately granted them. They have no idea who they are. They didn't record their information. They didn't do any
They dropped all
medical
their IDs
checks.
on
They
the other
didn't do.
side of the
They
border.
like
Yeah.
the
That's another thing too,
hold on.
Sean.
The Titanic did medical checks to make sure you were safe to go on the Titanic.
Yeah.
And we're not doing any of that.
We're
We
not
just
doing any of that.
automatically assigned them parolees and gave them full free
Right.
benefits that Americans do not get.
And
It
work
goes for
permits.
her like ice water because she says you were making $985 a month as a cop. We didn't get $1,300 in a debit card. We didn't get a subsidy on our apartment rent. We didn't, dude.
2,000 on SNAP food benefits.
Yeah, on SNAP, and
Well, no, go ahead.
no, I've driven the point home. Go ahead.
No, I get it. But when I lived in New York, it was the first exposure I had to this. Once I found out that the school district that was taxing me $6,000 a month, a year for my house, was paying teachers for $14,997 per student, including half day kindergarten. They were passing out Section 8 housing vouchers that were in excess of my house payment in the county that I was in.
Wow.
I'm like, come on, what the hell is going on here?
JC, once you start to see this, so I'm working in retail pharmacy and just all kinds of different parts. Hold on, no, all kinds of different parts of walks of life. I literally had employees that say, "I can't work more than 17 hours." And I'd be like, "Why?"
Right.
And they'd be like, "Well, listen, then I lose all of this." And they'd be like, "Listen, Sean, I make like 5 times what you do, all by working 17 hours a week." And I'd be like, I'm,"
Wow.
and I laughed. I said, "I'm the manager." And they're like, "Yeah,
It
I
sure is
know.
true. That's
I
true.
know, but it is true." They're like, and here's how I do it." And they would walk it out. I have 5 kids. The dad lives with me, but we're not married, so we claims he don't live with me. So I get all the benefits, Social Security for the
Yeah.
kids. Then I get SNAP benefits. Back then it was called food stamps for all 5 kids. Then I get housing assistance for all 5 kids. And right, you could see exactly where the government was going and taking the man out of the house. And it go like she would go like these I could this was
75,000 a year plus
one
17 hours
specific
a week.
person. This was in like, Paul, but that's in 2000. 75 grand a year
Right.
just in benefits
Right.
was way more than the
2000.
average salary of most
Sure.
Americans. And they're like, so I can't work more. Like when you say, I need you to stay an extra half hour late, I can't do it. I'll actually just quit, or you could just let me go. And you're like, well, but I at least want the 17 hours out of you because I can't find anybody else in this area to employ.
Yeah.
Right? That's where they get you
Yeah.
on the
That's
hook.
another thing. Yep.
Right? And nobody also of this demographic, which my company is requiring me to employ, and you just go, the whole system is fucked based off of well, it was called something completely different at the time, but affirmative action. But
They changed
yeah,
the
just
name, but the
change the name.
system remains the same. It was like Jesse Jackson. Oh, we're not doing quotas. We're doing goals and timetables.
It was quotas.
Yeah.
It's always been quotas. It's always been quotas.
Of
Refill my
course it
water.
is.
Be right back.
I don't care what you could change the names. Now, if you change the names, new generations won't know the name was changed. Okay,
That's what I
fine.
keep hearing. These guys in Utah, Colorado. Oh, Polis and Spencer Cox, they're gonna solve problems. No, they're not. They're just gonna be liberal. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're not going to say no.
Right.
And no one says no. Although this time, I think the Republicans are actually going to say no and make it stick. And we will see what happens. And I do worry
I agree with you.
somewhat. I do worry somewhat about the economy. I mean, I know we're getting all this money from overseas on tariffs and all the rest of that. When people say, well, you know, Trump's going to give us 1,000 or 2,000, I mean, he probably will because he's seeing the same things that we're seeing. But I don't support it. But at the same time, I understand it. And Sean, even for my little nurse friend, I know why he did what he did with Pfizer. I know why he did. He wants to show people that their costs are going down. So you're gonna cut a deal with the devil for something that's gonna kill them. Well, you know what? The fact is, it's something they want, and you know they think they've got to take this shit. Think about the educational aspect of telling them to get off of Pfizer's poison. How do you manage all of
Well, especially when
Especially when
the whole totality of media is against you. Uh,
always?
and right, I get that. Here's my issue, and can we please go into that for a minute? The government
Yeah.
taking uh, a stake. Not they're not paying for it, but taking stake in companies.
Yeah.
Like if you want to say something fascist, that would be fascist. That's a correct definition of
Yes.
fascism.
A stake in Nvidia is fascist. It
Uh,
absolutely is.
And Trump's point, and I get what Trump's point is that well, we didn't pay for it; they gifted it to the government. And I'm going
Right.
to go. I don't care because now that leads to too big to fail. So if
like the banks, right?
AMD all of a sudden is struggling because Nvidia, or if Intel is all of a sudden got the superior product, and that sale goes through the roof or to the moon, or wait, there's another one coming online you may not have heard of, is that Tesla is going to start producing its own GPU chips new to market, and it's probably going to go gangbusters. Not because it will be perfect, but because it's a new competitor, and people are like, "Fuck, I want to buy one. I want to try it." Right? You're
That's why
taking
they're up close to 500, right?
you're taking innovation out of commercial products by installing government in it. I do have a huge problem with this. I really do. I've had a lot of feedback that says, no, it'll pay off the national debt. And I say,
No, no.
I don't see your logic here. I think it's bad, and I think it's fascist, and I think Trump's being misled. I think he's
No,
being misled.
the word that I hear that is appropriate is called "enshittification." Have you heard that term?
No.
No.
Enshittification is the end of the end of an economic cycle where the money printing and the balloon just gets blown to, like at the end of the tech bubble. It's enshittification. It's in shit. And where everybody just throws money and everything, hoping that it all works out, and then that's right before the fall. And I mean that could be, it very well could be where we are.
I think there's bubbles that are going to burst. Technology might be one. AI, I don't think is close to that bubble yet.
You
Housing is a
think?
housing is a bubble that I don't think people are really watching. Housing bubble burst right under Obama, and people lost fortunes because of the stock market, not because of their house price.
Yeah.
And then
But
and
the
then
house price was
and
the
then
bottom
all of a
of it,
sudden the
right?
house prices rebounded like 5,000,000%. And you go,
Because of money
wait,
printing, right?
no, yeah, absolutely, it was inflation, and no serious economist has ever factored in housing inflation prices. It
No.
shouldn't be that 20 years ago a house was 100 grand and now it's worth 450 grand.
Sean,
Like, that's
this
retarded.
place this place in 2006, 2007 was 340, and now it's 575. Are you kidding?
That's
No, that's
it's retarded. It's
it's
Yeah.
retarded.
absolutely retarded, how
Yeah.
that they've done it. Well, there is a
If you looked at
we
this
still
place, and it's a nice house, but it ain't your idea of 600K. I guarantee it.
got a little time. Real quick, I wanna hit this. This gets into, state property taxes, and this affects
Oh,
every state. And let's get into property assessments.
oh, they love that. Oh
Alright,
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
whatever, your county assessor. Some counties and some states allow you to elect them, some are appointed, and here's why politics are local and why politics matter, and, like, I know in my area specifically, we've got votes for local elections on November 3rd, of this year, and, how many people are gonna show besides me?
5%.
Probably, but
Yeah,
county assessors, so they get a revenue request, right, from the local government, and says, "We
make it
believe
happen.
we need to
Yeah.
have at least a 5% bump in our quote." Well, they call it revenue. It's theft.
Uh,
Revenue from the taxpayers. Well, alright, let me get my spreadsheet thing going, and I'll just put in a formula, and your house was valued at 172 last year. Now it's valued at $200,000.
Yeah.
According to who?
250. That's what
What?
they'd
No,
say.
right?
Yeah.
No, but according to who? Like, could I
So
sell it for that? Maybe
Now,
you
admittedly,
could.
I don't
Maybe you
have a
could, but maybe
beautiful
you couldn't.
ranch. I don't have a beautiful ranch in West Texas where you can't even value how great it is. Okay, but yeah,
So we lock, stock, and barrel all our barns, the house, and the 20 acres in East Texas, not West Texas.
Don't be
Okay,
hey,
sorry,
don't be
I
too
screwed it
deal.
up. I thought of you as a frontiersman. All right, East
I
Texas.
bought it.
I was
I
also going to
bought
say
it
real quick,
for
don't be too detailed because there's a lot of people on the internet that will dox us if you give them too much information.
yeah, right, yeah. So I paid about
West
180,
West Texas,
185,
everybody. West Texas.
and I just had a realtor out here. 50 will list it for 510 and come down to 475.
I'm only laughing because, uh, look, first, that's a big paycheck compared to what you probably paid for the property. But then you got to turn around and go, where the fuck will I live after that? In a freaking
But so
1,000
Think
here's how
what
square
I
foot
I've got.
condo?
Yeah.
wait a minute. Here's how I overcame that. I mitigated the risk by saying to my neighbor, I will sell you my 20 acres. No, I'll sell you 16 acres. You, I'm going to mark out 4 acres, keep the homestead, all the barns and all that kind of stuff, get you the pastures and everything. And we came up with a price where it's going to make me debt free on closing day.
Perfect.
All right.
Well, but you're
Good.
looking at that, not everybody. Like the average, I would say, person that's looking at selling a home is going, "Holy crap! I have $300,000 worth of equity in this home
Right.
I bought for 150." But they're not looking at that. If I buy a home that's similar, but just has marble countertops now,
Yeah.
it now costs 600 grand.
Yeah.
Right. You can't
So,
Well, my
replace it
son
for
just
that
moved from
amount.
Fort Bragg, just got out of the Army. He and his he got a job at Amentum, a big defense contractor, makes good money. His wife works for another defense contractor as a program manager, so together they got a pretty good income. They sold their house in Fayetteville, moved out here to the Dallas Metroplex, and they're like, "Holy shit, Dad, we can't afford anything. We're gonna have to do something." I said,
point,
"I
right? And
tried to
now
tell you."
that's the point, right? And they're asking you, do you have any equity? Normally, 30 years ago, you would have had some equity they could have borrowed off of.
Yeah,
Your equity is too valuable right now to you because you're closer to retirement than they are to let them borrow off of, right?
yeah,
We've run into that. When you talk about a bubble, the bubble isn't necessarily AI or the stock market's going to stock market or crypto. It's housing. Housing's a bigger problem than anybody's ever talked
than
about. And
anybody ever
I
thought.
don't think
Yeah,
anybody's even bringing this up to Trump.
yeah,
Other than the fact that we got to close this one out in 2 minutes, other than the fact that Trump has said, "Well, we'll flood the supply chain of housing," and you go, "Yeah, that doesn't fix it right now." Trump. And listen to everyone that listens to us live, and there's plenty. We're also critical of Trump. We're not
Oh,
a
hell yeah.
worship person the
No,
way you
we'll
think
tell the
we are.
truth. I mean, that Pfizer thing is
Uh,
ridiculous. But, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you need to show people some cost reductions, so you take what you can get. I mean, that's what he did.
I yeah,
It wasn't medically sound. It wasn't. And I'm a pharmacist and I love the guy, but that he hurt a lot of feelings with that press conference. That was bad.
I
That was
agree.
bad.
yeah, yeah. That didn't go well at all, dude.
No, no.
Well,
But
Paul,
the
you
great
and I've talked about how Trump was going to bring down medical prices by 1,000% or 800% or whatever. I'm not making fun of the percentages. What I was looking at is the problem is you're bottlenecking things into big pharma instead of just expanding it
Yes,
to competition.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's where, and especially with this, it wasn't a buy-in. There was no purchase of Pfizer. Pfizer gifted it to get
Yeah, that's
Trump and
right. Yeah,
Putin. But
people don't understand that, Sean.
No, the worst part about this is that there's been no acknowledgement of what's really going on and the fight. This is my fear right now. The fight in the Congress, and he's finally got the Republicans to stand up, and they're doing it. Both Thune and Johnson, they're not going to re-auth these Obamacare subsidies. Are
right,
we going to talk about what Obamacare really is for the first time after 15 years of this nonsense? Does anybody have the balls to do this? And right now, I don't see that person.
I
I
don't
think
either.
if they just let that happen and let people experience that,
Yeah.
all bets are off. You've got to make the case. And I love his optimism, but I'm like, dude, where's Stephen Miller on this? I
I
mean,
will. All
nobody's
right,
talking about it.
Yeah.
we got to close this one out. We're going to go on to hour 2. It's going to take me about 10 minutes to reset. I'm going to
That's
tell
fine.
you. Hold on. I'm going to tell you. My thoughts are this rhetoric, even out of Trump, is trying to set up a play for the midterms. Think about that. We're closing it out.
All right.